I just need this love spiral. Let's make a lavender haze jacket. In this video, I'm going to show you all of the steps I did to create this jacket. So if you're interested and want to make one as well, be sure to follow along because this actually is a really fun project and it's pretty easy as well. So this might be a great project for you if that's something that you're looking for. So let's jump right in. To begin, we're going to need a pattern, and I'm just using Simplicity 8932, which is such a great option because it's only 3 pattern pieces and the shape looks just like Taylor's, especially at the neckline. You'll see also on the shoulder seam of this pattern in particular, there is a dart, but I didn't do it because this jacket does not need to be fitted. The only alteration I did was add a little bit to the hem. I added about 6 inches. You might need to add some as well if you're a little bit taller. I'm about 5'9". Just because the pattern is a little bit shorter than the Lavender Haze Jacket. So I just squared off the edge there and finished the line, and this is what it looks like. Be sure to do it to the front and the back. Once we have the new hems marked out, we are ready to cut, and also we are going to cut out the front and back of the linings the same way as well. Make sure you mark out the same amount that you did for the fur to the lining. And then I made one alteration as well to the length of the sleeves. I just added an inch to the hems of both the lining and the fur, just so that they're long like Taylor's. If you look at pictures of her sleeves, they're super long and go over her palms. Now get your pins out because it's time to sew everything together. I started by sewing the sleeves first, doing both the lining and the fur, and then I moved on to the jacket, just doing the 2 side seams like this, and then also the 2 shoulder seams as well. So just 4 seams total. As I mentioned before though, there was a dart here, but I didn't do it, and that does mean there will be a little bit of excess that hangs off at the shoulder seam. That did not affect my sewing at all. It was no problem, and so I just would recommend not doing it. And so once you have everything pinned together, it is time to sew the lining and also the fur as well. Once you have sewed and also pressed open those 4 seams, you can go ahead and add the sleeves as well to the lining. So the lining sleeves to the lining and the fur sleeves to the fur. And once you have those pieces all together like so, it is time to add tassels if you want. You may notice on Taylor's jacket there are these beautiful little tassels that hang all over the place, and this is an inexpensive way to do those tassels on your jacket. So with just some double threaded clear thread through a needle, I am just going ahead and starting from the inside, so the wrong side of the jacket, and I made an X with my thread, and that will serve as our anchor for the tassels. And so I just added a whole bunch of beads to the thread. Then you want to make your tassels a little large just because they get lost in the fur really easily. And once you add your teardrop bead to the bottom, or whatever bead you're doing on the bottom, I added another bead to that, and then what you're doing after that is taking your needle but going back through the big bead. So what you're doing is you're kind of creating a loop around that bottom bead. And so you're just taking your needle through the big bead and then taking it all the way back up through the tassel. So through all those beads again. And then once you reach the top, you're just going to go back through the fabric right where you started to make the tassel, and then pull through to the wrong side again, and then just make a whole bunch of knots there. I make about 4 or 5 because that is what is going to keep it in place and nice and secure. And then just repeat this step for all the tassels that you want to make. I made about 30 and it seemed to work out really well. And once all the tassels are complete, now we can finally attach the lining to the fur. And I just put right sides together and I sewed down the center front and the hem. So it's like you're sewing in a big U, starting in the center front, going all the way down the front of the coat, doing the hem, and then coming back up to do the other side's center front. Once you sew those together and flip it right side out, this is what it should look like, nice and pretty. I just tried to turn out those corners down at the bottom and then give it a nice press. By ironing the edges of the jacket, everything is going to look super crisp and nice. And once you've finished up these edges, it is time to pretty much finish the coat. And we're going to start that by doing the neckline next. And so I'm making these clips here. This is necessary for most curved seams that you want to clip open, just so it can have that mobility to be curved. Like the seam allowance will not pull on itself. So clip no more than 5/8 of an inch, and then we're going to fold under both the lining and the fur by 5/8 of an inch. It's okay if you're a little bit off. This nice fur fabric is very forgiving, which is also why I think this is a great beginner-friendly project, because all you need to do is fold it under both the lining and the fur like I mentioned, and then pin it in place. And then I opted to just hand sew it. You can also top stitch right on top if you want, just because this fur, like I mentioned, is very forgiving and it hides a lot of mistakes. For the actual hand sewing itself, I tried to do a slip stitch, which is just a stitch that you don't see, but it was too hard for me to find the fabric itself, the fur, because it is so tricky and it was so fluffy. So I ended up just doing a prick stitch, which is just a running stitch, but it just is smaller stitches on the lining side and larger stitches on the fur side. But you could just do a running stitch, or just heck, throw it under the machine and just do a top stitch right there, and it will look great. And lastly, for the sleeves, I did the same exact thing, but this time without clipping. Just fold under the edges and hand stitch it like so, and your jacket is complete. And now you're ready to be in that lavender haze and shine bright, and also get it off my desk. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm always here for you, so reach out. See you in the next one.